contact as well. Finally, I'll also just recognize that Sunnyvale has been key and of importance, and I know that my district director, Patrick Ahrens, who is also chair of the Foothill De Anza Community College, is also on this call as well. But he has been a conduit to helping ensure that we are active and omnipresent to the extent possible. So again, it's a pleasure to be with you here. I don't want to speak for 10 full minutes and being talked at, but rather to be able to have dialogue with you as well. But thank you for spending your valuable time, and it's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. Members of the club have submitted 7 or 8 questions, and you've touched on 1 or 2 of them. But what I'd like to do is just sort of give you each of those and then give you a brief amount of time to respond. So the first question is, what are the most contentious and difficult issues you're working on now? And what do you see as the most urgent needs for our region in the short, medium, long term? And added on to that, what help might we be able to provide?
Thank you. The number of parts of the question is that what is the most challenging issues facing our region in terms of priorities and what we might be able to do as a collective community in addressing these issues. And the issue, of course, is that of affordable housing and the cost of living. How to make sure that we respect local control, and for those cities and jurisdictions who are not doing their fair share and obligation in helping to address the issue of inequities in our communities, how do we make sure that we go after the bad actors, but that yet we reward the good actors? And again, being Sunnyvale, kudos to Sunnyvale for doing more than its fair share and recognizing the importance of continued growth, but also a world-class city, understanding that we are a region in which many estates where we compete will roll out the red carpet for Fortune 50 companies to expand and be present in their communities and in their states. And so Silicon Valley and our communities must not just take these things for granted, but rather work with intentionality to help ensure that we support jurisdictions and empowering local communities to do their jobs. And the challenge is that not a one size fits all. And the issues facing our region here in Sunnyvale versus the areas of Bakersfield are very different. But how do we make sure that we're talking about a just transition? And when we talk about some of the inequities, that we recognize that some of these jobs are working class jobs that also have incredible roles to play in our society. So those are some of the challenges that I think are important. And what I would suggest is, in terms of how to be able to help, is helping to create the environment in which we can seek some commonality and creating a sense of empathy and grace. I think much of the conversation as it relates to housing is very protectionist. And unfortunately, those views oftentimes inhibit us as a collective state in tackling the real issue at hand, which is the social inequity of housing. Scott Budman from the NBC Bay Area just sent me a text message last week indicating that the median income required now in our region is close to $300,000. Again, to say that the median income required to afford a single family home in our community is close to $300,000. Now, the governor, judges, doctors, many do not even meet that threshold of that salary requirement. But we're not going to feel sorry for those individuals. But what about the service workers, the individuals that are making our economic engines run each and every day? So these are the unique challenges that exist. And I hope that we can tackle these things by helping to ensure that you can help write letters to the editor, pass resolutions, and urge others to help understand the true policy ramifications.
Thank you. We have 2 questions that relate to transportation. First says, what specific actions will you take, if any, to establish bicycling as a standard mode of transportation?
Sure. Well, we've been very supportive of a number of legislative proposals through our Transportation Committee in acknowledging and addressing the state support with that regard, specifically on how do we look at sustainable funding and access for jurisdictions to embark on this endeavor and hopefully that we can see a statewide approach on policy issues as well too. So number one is that of the policy. How do we make sure that we support policies in localities to implement accordingly with grant funding? And then of course on the state budget, how do we make sure that there is funding available, especially specifically made to allow for the utilization of cities who wish to access accordingly. Again, that's what we referenced earlier about the carrot and the stick. How do we support good actors and help support smart growth and the interconnectability, while also focused on using these efforts as best practices as well.
Thank you. The second question about transportation starts with a prelude. As much as 80% of our workforce commutes from outside Sunnyvale, and as much as 80% of Sunnyvale working residents commute to some other city for work, what steps can the legislature take to address the personal, economic, and environmental costs of highway congestion?
The question was, what can the state do to address the issue of congestion on highways? Is that what the question was?
Yes.
The investment in public education, public transportation is very important. In the continental United States, there is no high-speed rail. And in fact, we've embarked on voter initiative and voter-supported, voter-approved high-speed rail. As you may have read, that there are some unique challenges with litigation on building high-speed rail in an efficient and effective manner. But when we're thinking about the impact of high-speed rail, this is the old technology. In fact, 30-plus-year-old technology. If you go to many other places in the world, whether it be Taiwan, Japan, and other places in Europe, this is old technology. So the funding is very important to be able to focus on these efforts. And back in 2017, we passed Senate Bill 1 also with respect to some of the policy ramifications and also funding as well. This is the largest infrastructure bill in our state's history, which was the road repair and accountability efforts. And this was helping to ensure that we focus on the infrastructure in place. But unfortunately, the can has been kicked down the road. Much of the challenge, and this is the hard truth as well, COVID really put a damper on the state's ambitions on focusing on infrastructure, and rather we would focus on the operating, the day-to-day versus the capital. But I'm hopeful that we can continue to help prioritize these issues with respect to supporting public transportation as well.
Thank you. The next question also has a preamble. Across the county, there are about 6,000 school-aged children who are unhoused. That number does not include babies and preschool-aged children and is likely underreported. Sunnyvale's homeless shelter regularly housed 20 to 30 children and their families over the last 3 years. Those families were recently placed in other emergency housing throughout the valley because conditions were so inappropriate for them at the Hamlet shelter. The facilities and services for family emergency housing vary widely across the country. So now to the questions. What can you do to support unhoused children and families in our city and across the county? What projects, funding, partnerships, or adjustments in current contracts or policies do you think are needed to address this problem?
Thank you. I wish, frankly, we had more time to answer some of these questions, but these are challenges that cannot be solved overnight and not just in isolation. When we think about the gut reaction for policymakers with respect to those who are unhoused, you think, okay, let's just build more housing. But it's a multi-pronged approach. In fact, we just passed a measure that we'll also be voting on too, with respect to mental health and a bond measure and addressing some of these issues associated. So whether it be mental health and economic security and having jobs, but also housing alike, we have done a fair amount within the state's abilities in tackling a number of the issues that would impact specifically in addressing the issue of, this question was specifically around children, but we cannot do that alone. In fact, even at the localities, there was a Measure G that Foothill De Anza also just put forth to focus on housing specifically for the challenges of students. As we know, unfortunately, the state passed a law that would allow community college students to sleep in their cars. And that's the hard truth and the ugly realities that so many are dealing with. But I hope that we can share the truth so that people understand the severity of these issues. Oftentimes we'll hear from some of our other colleagues from other places in the state that this is an issue impacting major urban areas or major cities. But in fact, we know that in our regions, many are out of sight, out of mind, but this is a hard truth and reality, and unfortunately just in our backyard. And so highlighting the sense of urgency is important. Funding is one of them, but you'll be able to see the partnerships from the state and our county and utilizing the resources specifically for that effort.
Thank you. We're now on our last question, and so that's a reminder to the audience that if you have additional questions, you can grab a question card and submit that quickly, please, and get your question asked. For this last question, paired question, you touched on this briefly in your opening remarks. Again, a preamble. We've seen increasing attacks on LGBTQ plus communities nationwide and even in the Bay Area. Groups are trying to get through anti-LGBTQ plus initiatives on the November 2024 ballot. Another group has been leafleting at local schools as part of a nationwide push to ban LGBTQ plus books from school libraries using hostile and disruptive tactics. For example, recently, Glen School District banned the raising of the pride flag. And in the last election, Fremont Union High School District had 2 MAGA candidates running for the school board. So to the question, what should we be doing to counteract these actions by a very aggressive minority?
Well, it is absolutely to be able to partner with each and every one of you. The Republican Party is intentional at tackling these issues in the issues of division, to focus on issues that are not the top 10 issues by any means impacting schools or children. And that is a very telling issue, which is they're using these wedge issues and sparking significant conflict. And so what we need to do as strong Democrats, frankly, is to help identify a number of the school boards. Oftentimes these go overlooked, and may need to make sure that many of these vacancies and openings for school board races alike do not simply go unchallenged with just one person. So we need to partner with our local Democratic Party in identifying races in which we can get like-minded individuals and supporting the diversity in curriculum. But just to tackle this issue, to put a finer point on this issue, one of our Bay Area school districts just passed a resolution similarly to help to focus on banning of these books. The book that was specifically in conflict was that of a book that referenced Harvey Milk, an LGBTQ plus leader, who, by the way, was recognized in the California Hall of Fame. There was a United States postal stamp featuring Harvey Milk. There's a U.S. naval ship named after Harvey Milk. So when we're talking about American heroes and we're talking about patriotic individuals, let's be reminded about what these contributions really are about and how to push against the type of hate and rhetoric that actually has caused significant harms. And this is exacerbated. This does not just come out of thin air. This is very harmful and hurtful. And we're seeing a number of proposals that we are taking a look at to help bar school boards from doing their job. And that's in the current conflict right now. So we are working with the Attorney General and Superintendent of Public Instruction to best get clarification on the existing authority, and also then working with the state legislature, us, to be able to look at legislative proposals to strengthen the laws to make that much greater clarity on helping to empower teachers and school boards alike to be able to focus on the curriculum that has been enjoyed for decades and decades previously. So when we're thinking about these issues, this is really a wedge issue that is a non-issue. We should be talking about how do we recruit and attract more teachers? How do we strengthen facilities in our school districts? How do we make sure that students are well prepared, and we focus on all of the issues impacting the bread and butter, not these wedge issues that are nonsensical and are used to divide and further inflame and frankly cause significant harm to individuals. So this is a concerted effort. Similarly, we've seen elements of this with respect to COVID and the misinformation. There's great misinformation in textbooks, in this argument, so to speak, textbooks, and we need to speak out against it.
Thank you. And your responses woke up the crowd, and so we've gotten a couple of additional questions. First one, now that AB 1227 is on the governor's desk, what are the prospects for ranked choice voting in Santa Clara County, and what can we do to help this along?
Thank you. This is a bill that I authored to allow the county of Santa Clara, in which the voters already passed the approval. This was specifically for the county to allow our county to focus on ranked choice voting. So it is at the governor's desk now, and I'm hopeful that he will sign it. What we can be doing now is to help advocate on the benefits of ranked choice voting, which of course is the best arguments for ranked choice voting is to help focus on, number one, the actual cost to taxpayers, but then also to help incentivize public officials in ensuring that we are not as divisive and the candidates speak to these issues. If you have ranked choice voting, the candidates are less inclined to attack one another, but rather focus on these issues, because candidates will need to try to get the second and third votes of others. And so there's much more collaboration and a focus on many of these different issues. So I'm very hopeful and excited.
Thank you. The last question. You can tell that we have an interest in transportation in this group. How can the state and local government work together on improving public transportation?
How can the state and the county localities work more collaboratively on public transportation? Well, this is not just a Santa Clara County issue, but a regional issue of Bay Area. And so I entrust much of the work to our local elected officials who also serve on regional capacities as well. And those efforts have been very fruitful in terms of the collaboration. But where the state can come in is to help focus on funding, in which we oftentimes cannot print money. We need to balance our budget. But when we partner with our federal officials, we know that there are matching funds that if we are not using them, then it goes to waste. And so we need to continue to support our regional transportation bond measures, and also help get additional advocacy from the state to support federal funding as well, because this is a Herculean effort, but is going to support the future.
Thank you. You've covered a number of issues very much on our mind. Would you like a minute or two to wrap up?
I would just simply say it's a pleasure. I know how valuable your time is today, but we are collectively hoping to ensure that we can expect better from government, but we can only do so when we are informed and we hold our elected officials accountable. So thank you very much, fellow Democrats. And I look forward to seeing you locally here at home or at convention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have Santa Clara County District 3 Supervisor Otto Lee, who is also a former mayor of Sunnyvale. So a few minutes to do some introductory remarks, and then we have some prepared questions for you.
Make it more formal, if that's okay? Thank you.
Well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be able to be in person now. Nowadays, that we can have our democratic club meeting. I think I know every one of you. Let's interview your former mayor in Sunnyvale, council member, also now supervisor for the last, almost 3 years. Time flies, and now we're talking about re-election again. It certainly has been quite a journey since I've been elected to this position, and the time frame is that this December will be the following deadline for the March primary. For those of you who follows, the reason why primary is so early is because we have the presidential year. So instead of having a June primary, which we used to have for California to matter, it's moved up to March. So that's why we're making March primary. The job of a county supervisor certainly has been one that I would say has been extremely challenging. Having served in Sunnyvale City Council, and you see Mayor right here, Mayor Klein, we talk quite a bit, and morale too as well. Yes, and it's really a position I always tell people. I really love the job. I hate the bother. Given how much actually goes on, the luxury of being a supervisor is that we actually have staff, right? You get your staff where you get a lot of things done that way, which is very nice compared to having 7 of us at a time, right? Always sharing and that, and back on a side for those who remember, and try to get so much done. But at the same time, the scope of the work is certainly tremendously large. For example, one of the things I recall when I was knocking on doors to talk to folks about running for this job, I said, "Gee, supervisor, what do you supervise? You supervise parks?" I said, "Well, that too." So so many different things. Of course, our health and hospital system is one of the main item on our budget. For example, half our budget, which is both our budget, which ended on June 30th, was over $11 billion. Half of the funds actually is spent on our health and hospital system, and honored to be serving as the vice chair, along with Josephine, chair of the health and hospital system, since I got on board. And still continuing this role for a while. And as you might recall, when we first got elected in 2020, we were dealing with COVID. So time was about COVID tests, getting those out. And then later on, we talk about the vaccine coming through. And that's all. There was no small feat, and I'm just on to say that the entire company is actually improving to be one of the most vaccinated company. That the 1.8% in the country, and I think there's a lot to do with the hard work of our China staff and the patient efforts that we have. But certainly, we have our share of anti-vaxxers that we deal with, anti-maskers as well. I've been told so many times, take out those masks. And you know what? I compare this to the hijabs. You can wear a hijab, you don't have to wear a hijab. You can wear a mask, you don't have to wear a mask. This is how Jews and our country. We're diverse and we welcome everyone. And that's what makes our country and our cities such a great place to live. For sure. Oh, the beginning of the time. So I'll try to be a little closer to my mind. It truly has been a honor to serve this position, but the fight that I didn't have to deal with was the year between 2016 to 2020. When Trump was the president, the county was really the arm that has to fight these crazy stuff coming from Washington. And all these executive orders coming. One thing that the county has is our county council's office, which a lot of people don't know. We have over 120 members hired there, which is actually the largest county council's office among the different counties in Northern California. And this office has fought so many of these ridiculous directives coming from DC. And those directives, unfortunately, we don't know over. As you know, court cases sometimes it lasts longer, whether we're dealing with DACA issues, whether we're dealing with border issues, government issues, or even some of the mandates from Health and Human Services. Those are the things that the council actually talks about every day. So make sure that these services are being provided to everybody, it should not be discriminated as. In August, we all concerned after the next election, we don't want him back. And if you look at codes, you will be understand. I tell people, stop reading the codes. Stop reading the codes. Get out there and do something. You don't have time, donate to party and donate to people. No, without their mouth and don't talk. I think it is so important. And of course, it's not just California that matters because when it comes to the presidential election, we really are the states. There's always those states, right? Nevada, Pennsylvania, Florida is not gone. Sure, it was not. That's what we're doing. We're having our Democratic convention this coming year in Chicago, no, next August. We certainly need to make sure that the swing states are the ones that we have to put a lot of efforts as Democrats. I myself have walked quite a few times in Reno, Nevada. It's drivable 4 hours away. My girls love to stay at the Cardinal. It's a nice hotel there with their biggest, amazing bathtub. But that's where we get them to go help them knock on doors quite a few times now. My youngest one, my oldest one now, we're 18. Mark lost remember when my wife was still pregnant walking in the neighborhood. And the first one was she just graduated from camp, going to do Navy RTC in UC Davis, possibly University. So the girls are growing up really quickly, and I'm retired by the way. GC, old lady, that's me. I'm not still wearing my little lady uniform with stuff because I was told ceremony for the Vietnamese veterans out this morning. So important for running with but yeah, it is something that we are working on. One of the items I'm looking at the agenda, which I'm very proud to say is likely going to pass. Since I've been on board, I've been trying to purchase using the county measuring fund to buy this piece of land in Kirk Avenue over in San Jose by Arundel Road. Why is that so important? It's about 4.5 acres, and that's the site where a lot of unhoused veterans has been housed for the past decades. However, if you walk over there, it looks like you walk over Twilight Zone in the 60s and 70s. The place usually needs some significant upgrades. And there's a lot of land that should be purchased, different housing as well, additional uses. So these are the type of things that we can do to purchase the land. We can do those things. Housing machine is one of the biggest challenge that we have in the Silicon Valley. And that measuring from basically we have about 950 years. So anyway, so these are the exciting things you're doing county every day. In the house, spent a good 40 minutes yesterday, I think, with Crestwood, talking in the house over there. But Mary Klein and I have been talking almost every other day on these type of issues. But the work never ends. But it's something I would say I enjoy doing. It's just the volume is very heavy. And thanks for our Democratic Valley. Thanks for what we care about our house, working with Bridget about our Hammond Court, our kids over there. And there's another report actually trying to talk about what we're going to do at Hammond Court, or what county is not doing enough of, and what more we can do to make sure families, we're trying to give their families to not be dependent because somewhere else, or give them motel rooms, for example, right? So those are the things for. Thank you.
We have a number of prepared questions, and then we go to the audience and we have a number of prepared questions, and then we turn to the audience for additional questions. We have a card and then submit that. First question, very broad. What are the most contentious and difficult issues you're working on there? And what do you see as the most urgent needs for our region in the short term, medium term? And what might we be able to, what help might we be able to provide? So
Thank you. This actually is fairly easy. What I just last spoke is probably the most challenging issue we have is about on the house communities, both families and individuals in Sunnyvale. We have the same issues in the Northeast. There's this thing called Hillview Court project that has turned a home Extended Stay America into a home key project apartments. Uh, the good news was, oh, we got the funding, great, you're being built. So, but that's actually where it begins. I think the fact that how hard is to get the funding, pull it together, get the work done. The construction part actually turns out to be the easy part. How to run these facilities in a manner that makes sense is where we run into so much trouble. And as we can hear the story, I'm dealing with this on a really daily basis for staff over at UView, trying to talk to attendants and figure out what's going on. The fear of labors, some of those things that they've raised about, as much as we try to alleviate the fears, is true, right? And you have drug use in the facilities. That's just unacceptable. And there's public safety about it. And the people who manage these sites are so challenging sometimes if they don't have experiences running these type of housing units. They'd be good landlords under like normal regular facilities, but these facilities are far more challenging because of the residents that are going in there. And there's many issues, and so I think it's so important for us to keep an eye on. And I would say that's one issue that I've been spending honestly no less than a couple hours every day trying to find out who are the county teams for, who is doing the oversight, why is this happening, and how can we make sure more research can be with Sunnyvale as well. I mean, I think Sunnyvale recognizes the system. I'm very glad the council, approved this full-time position for the dealing with the homeless issues. Unfortunately, in general, it just came enough, and we'll have to find somebody else. For ultimately, this is one issue that we're all working together. It's not just county's responsibility or the city's responsibility or the water district. It's something that we really need to work together in order to try to solve. And that makes it challenging. I don't think it's not doable because I think we have such a good relationship. I mean, Larry can call me anytime and vice versa. And frankly, 24/7, we talk all time, all hours of the day with me. And the thing is, knowing the police chief, knowing the sheriff on a first-name basis, having them on the cell phone soon helps all of these type of issues. In addition, of course, to the helping advocates, along with Home First, these organizations who have worked for so much in terms of providing services on human support or outreach. In fact, yes, I want to outreach over at the Central Expressway. People from Home First was right there at the site, taking in names, doing the VI's for them, which is the system to measure the qualification for housing. And the actuals, we're still looking for housing. I believe there's like 2 or 3 of them are eligible to get into the hotel, so they're still working better. But I would say all the issues that's probably the hardest one. And one that I really don't believe should be handled the way it's handled. I mean, it really should be something the mayor and supervisor is doing on a day-to-day basis, Wednesdays and Tuesdays. We're doing it because the system is not working. We have to find ways to make sure that those resources are being put in so that we should be oversight doing policy and not having to case for.
Thank you. Next question is a big jump. Now with AB 1227 on the governor's desk, what are the prospects to ranked choice voting in Santa Clara County? And what can we do to facilitate it?
Great question. On ranked choice voting. It's one of the issues that I care for, and I voice my personal support on this. It's something which I would say not all my colleagues on the board are supportive of. I can tell you right now, at least one vice meeting is not been supportive of this, and I'm not even sure some of the other supervisors are. So there will be some advocacy that I think we will support this to make sure that we talk to each of them to get that support. I think people are concerned, especially folks who have been in the political business for a long while, that without a really strong MID, they think that ranked choice voting would be hurting their next election projection, which I don't think is what they need to worry about. I think it's just a matter of getting more people to run and to potentially save money, eliminating like the primary and the general system. The outcome, I think, it allows individuals who don't have the resources and to run. For example, the city of Oakland, we've seen quite a few times where the top, like most famous candidates actually made it to become the mayor or other positions because of the fact that ranked choice voting is able to implement just on Zoom. So I would say the so far right now, I'd say at the assembly level, it's still lukewarm. Um, I can figure out if you ranked choice voting for the assembly and the senate, it's probably even passed or governor will sign it. Since this is limited to Senator County, I think we actually have a better chance. So if we could get at least all our local state representatives to be a strong advocate of it, I think it's helpful. Another thing is, Robert Davis, the new assembly, speaker, does have a small portion from the Senator County. So he's one of our so-called delegation and, legislator, Sacramento, that represents us. The speaker, I think, would be really rich. Make sure that each is on top of those issues that he'd be supportive of in our change of things. Next question,
Excuse me, Bruce, can we switch microphones with that other microphone with Otto? People are having trouble hearing you. You know, if that'll help, but,
You want to place the stand next to you?
Is this working? It's awesome. Actually, why don't you do this? Move the chairs closer together and because we're going to do a center and
I don't know about that. I don't think so.
Two questions on transportation. First one is what specific actions will you take, if any, to establish bicycling as a standard mode of transportation?
Yes, big fan of bike lanes. Among the things I think we are trying to accomplish is to allow folks to be able to ride their bike safely. Many times, besides the issue of problems, the one that really is a problem is when you have streets that don't have dedicated bike lanes. Shared building, I think it's important, but to me, it's not as safe as it really needs to be because basically, honestly, most people don't know what the chair sign is, so you don't need to be more dangerous or actually an idiot to not understand that how that works for the carers and people. So I have to concept as much as my daughters take to bike to many places, I absolutely do not allow them to ride a road. That's a street with the sheriff's. I just don't see it as straight enough for cyclists. And I think there's proposal that we're working with right now on their road, especially on the expressway. Truly, is the kind of control of county. We looking to increase the safety level of our expressway to help those to be allowed to pass into the class 4 level 4, where the actually dedicated areas is separate so that cyclists really could ride those roadways safely. So we think that's something that is long overdue, and then I'm fully supportive of those separate efforts. Also making sure bikes are available to homes on the BTA buses, and also on Caltrain. So we know we are covered our electrification of our Caltrain now in about a year. Some of you hopefully have gone to the electrical thing to see how they work. And so I want to make sure that there's no fiber. We use Caltrain to reach this device.
The Google Pay. As much as 80% of our workforce use some obviously, not that 80% of Sunnyvale working systems can reach some other states. What steps can the county take to address the first open ballot congestion?
Well, one thing for sure, there's one thing good about COVID. It's the fact that the stop center in drivers in town was in great shape at the time. You could really tell people keep saying that it's really man-made costs on these greenhouse gas and pollution. You could definitely see it during those times. That being said, I'm sort of not happy with COVID. Still, we have started, So honestly, we're doing good enough and then coming back. I think having to do the shelter and place different things would be very difficult given the group of time and how we do it. The reality is that we obviously what's the we've got such a great and deep we really need to come up with some of skills that's for you guys and that's really keeping forward. Not focus on the
You can't hear it online, so sure.
come back and tell me from this problem, that's to me, Travis not on 12% of the unity then is from particular dollars. Then you said is from relevant of part of revenue in different areas of the public. The cost of BT, some of us always be asking questions. Not enough we do to make BT as cheap and as easily available. So you build the tools, you give the scene, you do reference. So I'm going to sure if you don't need to go with the round room individuals in the 2000s to be able to grow because of free run in library and degree. Because even though people bought say 250 each run, and you could run for $5. $5 so even if I drive, particularly left on the gas is probably $5 per minute, so I'll rather drive. It was a thing that I'm big news on.
I don't think there's anything you can do to improve it.
Oh,
I'm thinking, trying to do something else. Oh,
You know, there's nothing but all the structures, you know, structures and that, certainly certain people will do, you know, something that, you know, see that some of us could do, not,
Microphone,
they don't make things up to grace, flexibility. People can more, like, get easy, have. They got easy for that, but do it, without having to show up and say.
And we speak, so they're gonna speak to the room. Okay.
We should look at that.
Now, we should,
Well, another question with a brand. Across the county, there are about 6,000 steelage over the road. That number is not for babies and children. Some girls homeless shelter regularly have to receive children and families for us in the.
no idea what. Me neither.
Places I live in, it's in how we can now. So it's over the so and emergency housing, how we plus. Good question. What we do before I have good when families on the same. The prior study partnerships, adjustments, the current contract policies. I think they're really huge to address.
Thank you. So, short-term long-term solutions for housing, housing for families. As we have mentioned, that happens well, being a really shelter being, operating. I think it's mostly, not good there. There is school, but the children.
Recording in progress.
These conditions. And, I, at the time was quite a bit hungry to see what's available. This is kind of not things. You know, it's separate area to studies, you know, separate area in practice, but they're humble for the individual in himself over there, with the family, and kids, the path, and you know. So I, you know, looked at and think that this is probably university, there's, you know, these, these are issues, and first reason like why we can't stop you ask that question. The answer to getting some of the homeless advocates is that it's better not it's better I think that's true. But here in here, the time limit should not be all of it. It's only very temporary because you're given all the elements at the end of the day, we should not needing to stop if they're going to send it to kids. So number one, the kids, that's final space, and they will help
Engineers to the core.
and you blah 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 and talk and then it's one of the points that often get the revenue self-esteem it's a good homeless department. So that's still pretty much the background to get a sense of yeah, that had to bridge the two. in the student, they can talk about the long term, so. We have been hotel, which is one solution, because the cost of housing seems like they have done for 5 or 6,000 convenience. We have a family, 3 or 4, but that type of price. We motel is at least the same, but cheap. And what that how would probably be, and then you also have then others. And so on these years, we are looking at long term living, you know, short-term housing solution, like we talk about the family for, right? That's the still how good things, the family food, not how it's to be invested in treatment. Hope the more basic business, so now that part we pick the piece 9 12 months.
Maybe they're recording this and can send it to us later.
Do you understand? It's really hard to get
Well, they're just recording the same junk. I can't imagine it being any use to anybody.
Come with the picture solution because it's not going to however, we got for the 1500 year road the town in seven, but what the time and fish is looking at how. So here see, you say it has. Much later, say two hours, which is very good. You know, I know, very good, plus, this is, now. Then, another thing you can do when the numbers to you are say, on the books, whereas when you do plus, so whatever, you can also then trouble. Basically, going, snow, one, two, so, just, raising the product. Last one, you figure out really this is what you can do, that again, it's not a good students. The question is, what should you be doing, how bad and this cheap, whether it's. You should not have that. Sometimes I have known that we need rather than the else regarding the. This is not. This is the same kind of thing that we feel by folks who frankly, yeah, I think we are, this is done. And this will go on to be great, because we talk about, it's not a living, but making it. And books, issues, running candidates, and some of the really opportunity we talk about, running one, you know, there is so many different activities. How I said, you know, smiles of the country is the United States. We do not believe in what we thought. And this type of practice that we are doing experience. People, it's very blocked. There are people generations and decades are now thinking of leading from different states. Well, you see them from there. It's happening in all of them. Very important. We are actually just being practicing was 5 tests in that not first number. No way to set up for you. It's a medium. It's very important. I think knowledge is better than you. Very important. It's like 2 people. Third one, we need to make sure that that's the definition we got of medium. No, that issue is absolutely that we have to make sure we're not all of that. But now at student level, you see them at the university, it is so dangerous to have that issue. But we have done this, you're not this is one of those things that you can find. Yeah, there's a lot of this not important. how different. You're not really different. I'm selling music changing around the music book. And more than 60% of our households have English, not being listened to. That's how I would probably define business. And I think we really need to embrace that and the fact that folks who are incarcerated because of this crazy often after this state, still taking the stuff that the sun says, you don't know, the mark books are really. I think we really need to make sure we get off of this pathway. We educate, not just ourselves, but get the real problem. We pass these resolutions, please pushing to support our LGBT plus communities to our ambition of university is something that I'm totally proud of. We are under the act. You can also see what they is somebody what listen, the phrases of justice as a wrong part. I know we don't run opposition, but how the family has a huge result to a bit of unchanged because something is using hungry to be a years. Where the words that make a family supposed to be down your abstination. Because the well fun shared living county in some communities is that you don't have to think about laws. And then not the possible.
You know what, the battery might be low, but it's not get them to change microphones.
This was like, things are different. You don't even sustainability questions after all. That's all it goes on. Teach years off year. And so going. And now the time we get to come. Right on to say that right here is how we have content that's the need to mention. And that the commission is coming together with a lot of people side with what the office is doing. We come up with some good ideas. We have that's good but assuming young students in levels of some class kids what they have maybe to learn. I mean I tell you, it doesn't come about. Since we did this one, and she was teaching so much. Now that she's good with it, they're making this one, so that's what wants to do. I'm very glad that the young people treat issues and hope that you all can be coaching measures. That's why I asked two of the issues thought at these release with their purpose. And then we have a lot of the problem this year coming up, we divide the plan of the training formula. To see if we can get some funding to get some of our units to them. I think there'll be some we could work on to bring back with
Yeah, excuse me, Bruce. I really think the battery might be low on that microphone. If we can use another microphone, it might be better. Yeah, let me turn it, try it now.
So you should be able to notify her from your voice
You
and
can
then
just ask her.
ask her, and then she can unmute and it will come through the speakerphone.
Okay, the next question, is, from Margaret Okazumi, who's on the line. Margaret, if you can unmute and then ask her question, we should be able to do.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Let me see if
She took it off. I don't see the on.
is that microphone on? Is
Is it
that
on?
microphone on? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so let me repeat the question and the answer. So the 12% that I talked about in DP's budget is only 12% of the funds that the DP spend on is funds collected from the fair balance. 100% of the funds actually comes from the federal, state, and local taxes. And given that is, how the word election well, it's really focused on having more lavishly on both of us in rapid. Because you don't know something, more people who are publishing matter, more subsidy you get from federal government as well. So actually, the more provider is more money needs. So instead of focusing on the product, let's focus on ridership.
Try Steve and see if you can get on. I don't see Mondo's.
Well, no, it's which microphone is that now? What color is the tape? Red?
Your microphone works fine for your voice, probably because you're sitting in front of the microphone. Please try to get at the people speaking.
On people. Yeah. There's something in the chat. You can get come through it. Can you smaller to group? No, it's like this. Then to it's in the chat. Yeah, and
Okay, so this is a drone.
Yeah.
I don't have any controls.
It looks like there's one live mic in the room, and that is Mike's laptop, and it is pointing at Mike and not the people speaking.
Somebody speaking,
Okay. Do you want me? Let me sit. I think again.
They're saying go to my mic. I don't have a mic.
Yes, you do, Mike. We hear your voice just fine. Now, if you could take the mic on your laptop and put it in front of the people speaking, then those of us on Zoom could hear them.
You're saying you can hear my voice?
Yes.
Your voice is fine. It's quite clear. But you're also the only source of audio we have for people in that room. And so we're getting the reflected sound off the back wall through your microphone. So it is very garbled. We can't understand anything Otto's saying.
Neither can the transcript, by the way.
Maybe you can put your laptop on Otto's lap.
No, I didn't hear.
We can't figure this out in a minute. Why don't we just call it into the questions and think how to move on? We can't. Or if either of the folks can chat. Just chat.
You're saying you can hear this fine?
Yes.
Yes, very well.
Yes, that's why I was perhaps mistakenly asking you to mute, because I could hear you and Gail whispering about what was going on over the speakers.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's that Mike's microphone is pointed at Mike, so we hear him just fine.
And
But because it is not pointed at the people speaking, that we can't hear them.
Like I was saying,
Can you put it in chat then?
Or can you have them ask their question?
well, if this,
Okay, question. I'm sitting here. Is this audible clearly?
That was blurry.
if they're saying this microphone is working.
Okay. This is Bruce. Margaret, you had a question. Can you say it to me and I can repeat it? You need to unmute.
Oh, we just have Otto and Bruce stand like right behind Mike. I think that will actually work.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's, if this is working as the microphone, then
It's really not. She's on here.
Margaret, we have you, we see you unmuted, but we don't hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please go on.
she's.
Oh, well, my question was for Assemblymember Evan Lowe, or I had some questions for him, so I don't know if he's still here.
He's not still
or-
in the room, so. Okay. He's not still in the room, so we'll move on
Well,
from that.
then, okay. Okay.
Okay, the next question is from Steve Myers.
That was the question for
Evan as well.
Evan, wasn't it? I think so.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions for Otto that are something?
I think that.
Okay, our time's up. So.
Okay.
Stones. If you want any closing remarks, and we'll do it without the mic, I think.
Yeah, just sure.
Well, again, thank you so much for allowing me to speak with the group. I've been a longtime resident of Sunnyvale, and this is one of the best club. Honestly, I would say it is really important for us when we say think locally, act locally, and this is what we're doing. 2024 is definitely not a time for spectator.
This is very real. We always kept saying how this election will be the most important election in your life. But guess what? It is going to be the most important election. We do expect President Biden to be on the ballot. And I mean, there's so much the press talking about the age and this and that, a Feinstein, all that's being lumped together. I think we need to just focus on what we need to do to get him reelected. I am still honored to be serving as a DNC member going to St. Louis in about 3 weeks to discuss what's going to happen at the convention. This one is one where we really need to mobilize folks. If you know folks actually in living in the relatives not living in those swing states, this is the time that we need to find ways to get the word out there. I've actually traveled to Philadelphia during the Kerry campaign because my sister was going to warn and I found a free lodging. But this is one of those years that we need to think about some of those type of efforts to do the cross state because local election is very important, obviously, but at the same time, we got to be able to win the White House back, keep the White House, and also the House elections, gonna be nail biter. The Senate map does not look good, right? Because the most competitive races are mostly held by Democrats, so it's playing more like defense. So there's a lot of work ahead. I've told people I'm very honored to say that, knock on wood, I still don't have a opponent in my race. I'm still doing my fundraising. I'm still doing all the work to try to earn the endorsements. Hopefully, the money I raise will then not have to be used for my own election, and that I could actually use it to help many Democrats that are over the state as well. So that's what my plan is going to be. Thank you very much. Yes.
Why don't let me just reboot this if I can. Shoot.
Your microphone is fine. It needs to be pointed in the right direction. You're coming through loud and clear right now.
You mean you can hear me?
Yeah, but because of the laptop mic, it is designed to pick up the sound from whatever is in front of the laptop and to exclude everything else.
Okay,
Maybe the speaker could just sit in Mike's chair.
I don't need to. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Cool. Okay. Okay, the voting procedure. Well, okay, so what we're gonna do now is the usual discussion / voting. So this is we actually have this set up hybrid. If you are an in-person voting member, if you are a voting member and you are in person, there are ballots at the membership sign-in desk. There is one ballot for each race. Take one ballot for each race. There is a spot for your pin. I believe that you should, if you are in person, you should be able to get a pin from Cheryl. Just the pin is there so to make sure you don't do something sneaky like vote both in person and online. If you do, only your in-person vote will count. So there's a spot for the pin at the top of the ballot, and there's a check mark for endorse, not endorse, and abstain. So that's in person. If you are online, there are voting links. They will hopefully be posted. I believe Mara, I know Mara and I believe Crystal have them. They should be posted in the chat. I don't really have a way of doing that given the
I can do that now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry. I'd have to, but we can, and those forms are open. I did open them at the start of the meeting. And you can vote with your PIN and they're the same thing. They're the same online forms that we've been basically using for the last few years. When we can close the discussion and balloting, we will be, oh yes. And if you're in the room, the ballot box is the big reddish box over there. Yeah. But you can vote it. But yes, I was gonna say we usually have discussion before voting, so you don't actually have to vote yet, but like you can, but So yeah, at this point, is there any question about the voting procedure? Either just say something. I can't really see if your hand is raised on Zoom or anything. So if you have a question, just say something. Okay, I don't see any questions. So I would actually at this time recognize people for discussion let's start with assembly. Does anybody wish to speak to the assembly endorsement? Physically raise your hand or raise your hand online. I recognize Margaret Okazumi.
Go back to gallery.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I'm pretty frustrated because I had submitted 3 questions to ask Assemblymember Lowe. The legislative session has just wrapped up, I believe, and what I've noticed is that Assemblymember Lowe either didn't vote for or had to be pushed hard on votes on bills that for the environment that involve the fossil fuel industry. And I really wanted to ask him about that because I've noticed this pattern for a while, or even before he became our assembly member, but especially now that he is our assembly member, that whenever I get action alerts from environmental groups, that he's often among the handful of Democrats that really needs to be pushed on environmental legislation. So right now, I'm not very happy with Assemblymember Lowe, and I really would have liked to have asked him specifically about those votes. And there's a couple other issues as well. There's the vote on Senator Aisha Wahab's social housing bill, 555, SB 555, which fortunately passed, but I noticed that Evan Lowe was among the few Democrats that did not vote for the bill, but it did pass. And I also wanted to ask him about his position on the anti-caste discrimination bill, which he has not been supportive of. But I'm particularly upset about the environmental things. I know that our district is very much more environmentally minded than that, and it's just disturbing to me that we have to work so hard to try to get him to vote the right way on these bills. And I'm complete.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak on to the assembly endorsement? If you're she is environmental concerns specifically. Sorry, I don't, when I'm presiding, I don't like trying to summarize debate. I don't see anybody in the room or online wishing to speak to assembly. Does anybody else wish to speak? Does anybody wish to speak to the supervisorial endorsement? I see no hands in the room. I see no hands online. With that, I will close discussion. I suggest people vote if they have not yet voted. I am going to go vote. So Mike, over to you. You have a chance for numbers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
announce that we're on a 10-minute recess while we're counting votes?
Yeah, we're, for people online, we've got about a 10-minute recess while we're counting the
Hold
votes.
hold on. Okay, has anybody not voted yet that wishes to vote? Online, in person? Seeing and hearing none, I am going to open my laptop and walk over and open the ballot and close the online ballot, and then I'm gonna count all the votes.
And then now say there would be on 10 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll be taking about 10 minutes to count the votes and
Mike?
yeah, we could
Because people will.
you're right. Yeah. Yeah, while we're taking a break, this would be a good time for any announcements, and we have the mayor here right now.
Step over here. Yeah, perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm the mayor. Of course, we are a week away from the state of the city. So next Saturday morning, from 9 to 11 approximately, you'll have State of the City, you'll have the community awards. If you want a tour of City Hall, and there will be booths and kind of free speech zone, but if you've been wanting a tour of City Hall, that's your best chance. There will be, so City Hall will be open from 11 to 1, and it'll be open during the speeches, so people kind of get tired of listening to the mayor speak and council members speak. You have a lot of opportunity to visit City Hall. Also, the State of the City will be our very first meeting in the new council chamber. So if you want to be there for that first meeting in our new council chambers, that will be your chance. So that's coming up on a week from today. Parking will be difficult. Carpool if you can, but park at the library. They'll be closing because we'll be closing that open area. Yeah, underground parking's basically closed. So consider that you might have to walk, but keep that in mind as far as that's concerned. And you can park on Charles, you can park at the library, you can park next to DPS, you can park on the south side of the old City Hall. But they finally torn down the old City Hall, the old annex. They filled in the old City Hall. They're starting to do the landscaping, but it looks pretty amazing. So definitely consider that for next Saturday. Other things that are coming up later this year. Of course, you've already had meetings on the Fremont Union High School District redistricting. We will be starting to do outreach on the new city library and whether or not the main library is going to be an addition and renovation of the old one or a brand new main library. That will be decided later in the fall. So you'll start seeing outreach as far as that's concerned. And there will be other study issues that this club has been very interested in, that you'll start seeing outreach and some reports coming to council. One is universal basic income, one is safe parking. So all those are in the works for fall and early this year. And then, of course, when we finally do the outreach for the new library, the new main library and what that looks like, there also start to be polling as far as whether or not that's a conceptual bond measure for November of 2024. And of course, that will be a very, very busy election in next November, because there's going to be lots of state and regional and county bond measures, sales tax measures, other things. So we'll see how polling goes from a city standpoint. And there's a few other things that are in the works, but all that is already on the docket for the upcoming time frame. But definitely, I welcome you. Hope to see you all next Saturday morning at the new City Hall. Thank you. Yes, question. Go ahead. I'll repeat.
Is there some way that the city can announce when mass exercises? Just the first meeting, they go right, when the Jets go, which is a great thing.
Yes.
We knew about it City.
So I got an update the first day that they were actually, so the question is, can we do an announcement when there's going to be military exercises? I did get an update the day that they were flying in from NASA. So NASA Ames, and all this falls under, the military operation of Moffett Field. It was for the last 3 days. They told me how many, F-16s and F-35s were there, and the approximate number of takeoffs and landings that they would be. So I'll talk to city staff and have that become an announcement when we get those notifications. Well, you're not no, you're be downtown and you see the final landing of Moffett. Any other questions? So it's training exercises. So they do sorties, and it's so planes come into this area and do training with personnel at Moffett Field. We have search and rescue there. We have the 63rd Readiness Division. So there's lots of, let's say, division operations. And so they bring those planes in. Of course, Fleet Week is right around the corner too. So you'll see planes that are here at Moffett for Fleet Week in San Francisco. But operationally, this is part of their training area that they bring multiple planes from different portions of California in to do training with the local military groups, as well as just in general trying to do this area. Any other questions?
Do people need to RSVP for the event?
You don't need to RSVP. There is, I think, a place online to RSVP, but you can just show up. It's open to the public. Yes, question? Oh, absolutely. So there's bike parking there, so there's bike parking at the library, the new city hall. Definitely walk, bike, however you can get there. But I'm most worried about those people that are driving there, that there's not going to be enough spots. So taking alternative transportation however you can, park in the surrounding neighborhoods, or just walk from home. You could conceivably be downtown. The city hall is approximately 0.7 miles from downtown parking. Yes. So that has 200 seats.
Pretty big room.
There's overflow seats, and so it'll be televised. You can stand outside in the hallway, so we'll see how many people show up. Any other questions online or in the room? You're welcome. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor Klein. While we're waiting for the votes to finish counting, we do have a couple of we have 3 or 4 club announcements as well. First is the board appointed Cheryl Bartholomew to serve as our membership director. So thank you, Cheryl. As we mentioned at the last meeting, Leah Melman stepped down at the end of August, and she's supporting Cheryl in the transition. Next, Crystal wants to remind us that Sunnyvale's Climate Game Plan 2028 is coming up for public outreach in October. So there'll be more information coming out on that soon. Fremont Union High School District Board of Trustees will meet on September 19th. Moving to trustee area elections is on the agenda. So this is a pre-mapping hearing number 2. The presentation about districting starts on page 62 of the agenda packet. They will also have a study session to review the benefits and harms of artificial turf fields that district is planning to replace. Artificial turf fields. The district is planning to replace at all 5 high schools. And I want to check on how we're doing with the count. Okay. For those offline, that was online, that was a snarky comment about how hybrid is slows things down, but
Twice a lot.
Democracy
I
is
do have an announcement.
okay. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is Margaret Okuzumi, and I want to call people's attention to the healthcare, California Single Payer Healthcare for All Day of Action event that I'm hosting next Saturday. It'll be after the State of the City event, starting at 2 o'clock at the Congregational Church of Sunnyvale. For those of you who are attending this meeting in person, Mike Cerrone did bring some flyers that you can have the information there. So if you want to grab a flyer, for those of you who are at the meeting in person, for those of us who are on Zoom, I've pasted the event sign up link into the chat. And hope you can spread the word if you're interested in reforming our healthcare system. It's a very critical time for the CalCare bill to pass within the next legislative year.
We have two additional items popping up from the chat. One is additional detail as promised. October 17th is the joint study session between Planning Commission, Sustainability Commission, and BPAC for input on Climate Plan 2028, which is the next actions for the Climate Action Playbook. So again, that's October 17th. Watch for that. And there was another comment which disappeared.
Hey, Bruce, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so there's also on October 14th, there's an electric home tour. So there's 40 homes identified in Santa Clara and San Mateo County. So from way south to Morgan Hill, up all the way up the peninsula. Homes that are going electric. Some have, gone completely electric. Some are in the process. And that's October 14th. It's a Saturday from 10 to 4. And there's you can register if you go to electrichometour.org. You can find the link to register for that. And it's free.
Thanks, Crystal. Other announcements?
Starts next week.
Yes. Yes, we have an unpaid commercial here. Tara and I want to remind you that the Leadership Sunnyvale class of 2024 starts next week. There are still a few spots open. So if you have anyone that you can think of that might be interested, we have salted the room with Leadership Sunnyvale grads. So you can easily find information about the program. For those online and in the room, we will go on about a 5-minute recess and hopefully we'll have. Okay. So we'll resume in 2 to 3 minutes after a snack break.
Okay, I have tallied the ballots. For 26th Assembly District, there were 2 invalid ballots. There was 1 abstention, and there were 24 ballots expressing a preference. Therefore, the total number needed to endorse is 15. There were 23 votes to endorse Evan Lowe and one for no endorsement. Accordingly, the club endorses Evan Lowe for re-election. For District 3 Supervisor, There were 23 valid ballots. There were no invalid ballots. Of which there was one abstention, therefore there were 22 ballots expressing a preference. 14 were needed to endorse. All 22 ballots expressing a preference were cast for to endorse. Therefore, the club endorses Otto Lee for re-election. In case you're, the ballots were almost evenly split. There was in both cases, there was one more ballot cast in person than online. If anyone is curious about that breakdown.
Cool.
I want to thank the vote counter for scurrying quickly to get that done. With that, that's the end of our agenda unless anyone else has any announcements. If not, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Leave is over there.
Yeah, I know.
Mm.